walk in a man's
like?
shoes. We're not getting enough of that perspective.
Yeah, we don't get enough of men's perspective in this world.
Walk a mile in that man's shoes by wearing a strap on at the museum.
Having that weight between your legs. Hey there.
Oh, hi. Welcome.
Welcome to Say Smut, a literary podcast for readers and non-readers.
Welcome. We're so glad you're here. We're so glad we're here. Who are we? Well, that's Sarah, and she loves books.
And that happens to be Hope, and she loves talking to me about books. Each episode, I break down the plots of some pretty wild books to Hope, who hasn't read them. And we are still in Pride Month, and so I got another good pick for us.
I'm ready.
I always think I have decent picks, but this one's a bit of a ride. For a contemporary, it's a bit of a ride.
I feel like there's not been a time where you've presented a book and I've been like, I don't think we should have done this by the end of our episode.
I appreciate that you feel that way, because there are a couple books I look back on that didn't feel eventful enough, in my opinion. But sometimes I feel like it's easy to rely on the monster or sentient romance ones because those are obviously like bonkers. Mm-hmm. But this one, the plot, it's just thick, and it's not, it's a contemporary. So it's not like anything wild in terms of like wild penises or,
anatomy is relatively normal.
Yes, anatomy's normal. Powers are normal.
Flavors,
normal. But today we are reading Shameless by Brit Ryder. Before we dive in, some content warnings, obviously sexual content. We do have a power dynamic with kind of dom-sub elements, but not too deep. It's pretty kind of rudimentary stuff. We also have some public sex. Okay. So on Storygraph, it has a 3.93, and on Goodreads, it has a 4.24.
Wow.
That might be one of the highest rated books, if not the highest rated.
That's really good.
Yeah. I will tell you a little bit about Brit Ryder. She also goes under the pen name Chris Bryant. She lives in Kansas City, a fellow Midwesterner.
KC.
She enjoys reading, watching sappy romance movies, traveling, and spending time with her family and friends. When a spare moment can be found, she grabs the closest laptop and writes whatever comes to her mind. Shameless is her first erotic novella. So this is the entry level point. Okay?
Amazing. I can't wait.
I'm not going to lie to you. I have my complaints about this book. And it will be obvious because I will bring it up about 95 times during this podcast. But if I were to remove this element, I might like it better. Okay. We're going to start our story with some online dating.
Okay.
What do you think of the apps? You were probably on the apps for a time before you met your partner.
Honestly, not really. Let me explain why. 1, I am anxious. 2, I am awkward. 3, my dating style is date someone I've known already for a long time. I've downloaded the apps in my time. I've set up profiles and then almost immediately deleted them. I've gone on in my lifetime 1 Tinder date. It was awful. I love the apps. I'm here for the apps. I personally hope I'm a bad candidate for the apps.
I am also a bad candidate
so
because
bad.
I think that as somebody who's been on the apps since I was 18, I just see them as people putting a certain foot forward. And even if they have the best intentions possible, you don't know until you really meet them. Ruthie knows. She's been there in the trenches with me. Hope, should we disclose what's happening? Oh, you're muted.
I'm a double muted explosion. So what is happening, and I'm so sorry, is A, the most insane construction I've ever witnessed in front of my home. B, a lot of beeping from big trucks from the most insane construction happening in front of my home. And then C, what you're hearing is Ruthie cannot not bark when she hears beeping, which is all the time. And this is going to be the business till August, folks. So I'm going to do my best to mute and unmute myself while my dog absolutely loses it. But just know she loves talking in books too.
Yeah, and I think what will be interesting is the time she decides to chime in. That's really what we needed to see.
Yes.
Back to the dating apps, though. I do want to talk about one problem that comes with dating apps that I've experienced, because like I said, I'm not a really great candidate because my thing is I'm attracted to people's personalities and how we gel. So I can't get that off of just swiping on a bunch of random faces and like funny jokes you've thrown in there. You know, like I don't know if our values align. I don't know if we're going to have a good chemistry. And like I get that that's for everybody, but like especially for me, I look at everyone, I'm like, you could be it. Like, I don't know, you know? So one thing that I've run into a lot is chatting with a person on a dating app for a prolonged period of time before meeting. What do you think the problem with this concept is?
My dog hates it is the first problem.
And she knows.
I want Ruthie to tell you that she does not like this strategy. She hates it so much that I need you to repeat the question because she barked so loud when you said it that I didn't hear it.
Okay. Like I said, I am a person that tends to chat for a very long time before meeting up with somebody in person. What is the problem with doing that?
I mean, technically there's not a problem with doing that, Sarah, but sometimes people be using the apps to get somebody for like a more immediate situation. And so it doesn't really afford you the time to really get to talk to somebody for a long time before you get to meet up.
Well, I will disclose to you something that is the central issue of this. It is that you get a preconceived idea and kind of romanticize in your head what you think is going to happen.
That's so fair.
Sometimes when you meet in person, it's not as grand, or it's not. People can be a whole different person behind a phone, you know, especially when you haven't met the person in person yet. And so you're like, I don't know what your vibe is. Okay. So let's jump into our characters. We have Emery Pearson. Pearson? Yeah, I think it's Pearson. Yeah, look, I'm getting too caught up in. We're never going to say her last name again. So Emery is all you need to know. She's 35, okay? And she's had to resort to the dating apps because unfortunately she got a bad reputation in her local lesbian community.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know. I know. Which you know it's bad. And if you are queer at all, such as I, you know that every community, no matter where you live, is a small queer community. Like everyone knows everyone.
That's fair.
She did have a girlfriend for a while, but Emery is a working woman, and she's really dedicated to her job as a fire investigator.
Okay.
Unique selection, if I may say so. So she was working a lot of long hours, which ended her relationship because her ex just really wanted to spend more time with her, wanted her home by a certain time, wanted to her not to work on weekends.
That is not the life of fire, baby. Fire doesn't run on that kind of schedule.
I think she even says at some point, like with the flick of a careless cigarette, her whole plans could go up in flames.
That's literally and figuratively true.
Yes. So, like I said, she works a lot of long hours. They go separate ways. Her ex starts dating another player on Emery's softball team, which is also the most lesbian thing you could possibly say.
First of all, rude. But second of all, if you're like me, you just got to meet everybody in the places that you are. So that
Precisely.
Also is probably how I would meet somebody new.
And Emery's like, look, they're happy. I'm happy for them. They got what they wanted. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So back to Emery. She's had this bad habit of like kind of burning bridges with her hookups, like not calling them after, not creating solid guidelines on like what we're doing here, right? So that is why she's gotten this kind of negative reputation among the local lesbians. So now she has had to take her hunt for a hookup online. So she goes to this app that's known for its like no strings attached atmosphere. This is where she meets Lily. Lily is a lawyer. She's in her late 20s, early 30s. She has some kind of vague photos, you know, and like you said, you were on the apps, you probably know. And I mean, anybody who's ever had social media in their life knows that you can take some pretty bad photos.
You can. I almost exclusively do.
Yes. But she like one of her photos is like a distant group shot of her and her friends in bikinis during a trip in Mexico. Another pic has her with giant sunglasses on where you really can't see her face too much. And then there's another slightly blurry photo of her in a courtroom that some like aide probably took of her. Like, I don't know. All that to say, Emery really only knows and cares about Lily's reasonably hot form.
Your blurry form seems hot enough.
Yeah. She's like, you look good in that bikini. And honestly, she's a new face on the scene. So she's kind of like, look, I'll take it. You know, might as well.
Does not know my reputation. Here we go.
Yes. I should also note that Emery is kind of vain through like the entire book. Okay. So like, for example, she has the occasional cigarette when she's nervous or stressed, but she tells everyone she doesn't smoke because of her job, when really it's because she doesn't want wrinkles and she prides herself in looking 10 years younger than she actually is. And she wants that for the rest of her life.
And so she's just going to tell people she doesn't smoke and she thinks that's going to help her prevent the wrinkles?
No, I think like she doesn't smoke all the time.
Oh, okay.
And so when people ask her, she's like, no, I don't smoke. But then like occasionally she'll have that one cigarette.
Gotcha.
But she also will comment on every single body that comes within the vicinity of her for the rest of the book. And she loves that Lily has a fit body. And if you wanted to know, Emery does tell the audience that she herself is almost 6 feet tall, which holler, girl.
Yeah.
And has been working out every day since she was 15.
That's crazy.
No, that's actually insane.
Just take a break.
So they swipe on each other, match, and they start messaging on the app. And things get kind of steamy kind of quick. And Emery really enjoys their chemistry. So she does like the one thing that she tells herself she's not going to do, which is like give out her actual phone number so they can kind of get off the app and message each other directly.
Yeah.
So they even have phone sex once, and it was like mind blowing. Like Lily really liked Emery's raspy voice, and Emery really liked how submissive Lily was. And you'll also kind of find out that Emery's like, yeah, in the past I've had girlfriends or, you know, partners who are interested in kind of a dom sub situation, and then they don't actually know how to handle it, or like they don't let me be the dom. Like they want to overpower me, or like, you know, they think it's like a power exchange that's not what I wanted. So she's like, this girl really knows what she's doing. She be submitting. But this brings us back to the first question I asked, which is, when you finally set a date to meet somebody that you've been texting and, you know, doing all this fun, spicy stuff with, there's a lot of anticipation and a lot riding on the actual chemistry you'll have in person, right?
Yeah, especially because so you said that at some point they've had phone sex and like steamy exchanges.
One time.
Is that happening before they've met though in person?
Yes.
Well then.
Yes. So they've only been on the phone once, and we enter on Emery enjoying a cigarette on her balcony and masturbating to the memory of that phone sex.
Sure.
So they are texting, and she is sending some spicy texts. But again, she, like, even when she masturbates to it, she can't see the image clearly in her head because she doesn't even really know what Lily looks like, right?
Right,
so,
because all the pictures are so bad. You got to meet in person.
Yeah, they're going to have a date. When we come into the story, they're having the date tomorrow, and it's going to be at a museum at 4:30 sharp. But Lily has a special request for the date. Would you like to guess what it is?
At the museum? We have to get something at the gift shop on the way out of the museum, because I would want something from the gift shop.
Ditto, the really overpriced magnet or something.
Yeah, like a picture of art that's in a museum.
Yes, like a Monet painting.
Yeah,
that's like
a magnet of a Monet painting.
A keychain or something. Lily wants Emery to wear a strap-on. Emery loves this.
That's great.
Yes.
Interesting museum wear.
Yes.
But sure.
She was at the sex shop when it opened to buy a new strap-on for Lily. She got like the dimensions of Lily's other dildos to know how big of one she should get. Wow. I mean, like, she is eager.
That's great.
And Emery is like determined to fuck Lily at the museum. Okay.
I gathered.
Yeah. Yes.
I had a feeling.
Yeah. And based on your research, you can probably get there.
Unless she was like, wear a strap on, put it under your clothes, just kind of hang with it. Just kind of see what that's like for you.
Yeah, see what it's like to have that weight. It's like when men wear
a pregnancy belly,
or they'll wear weights around their chest to feel what like having
breasts,
boobs.
Like, yeah, just like that. Let's walk
What's
into
it
man's
like?
shoes. We're not getting enough of that perspective.
Yeah, we don't get enough of men's perspective in this world.
Walk a mile in that man's shoes by wearing a strap on at the museum.
Having that weight between your legs. You know? Both women are so amped up for this meeting that they're sexting the night before. And Emery, like I said, is masturbating on her deck. And while Emery has an orgasm, they hop on a phone call in order to like help Lily get off because like they were like, you know, doing their thing.
Yeah. Teamwork.
And all the foreplay has to do with them, again, having sex at the museum. Like foreplaying of like, this is what I'm going to do to you. This is what I want from you, right?
I'm going to take you to that thing that shows how clouds are made where you got to press down on it and it makes a cloud and it's going to be so hot. I've decided it's a children's science. It's a family science museum.
Okay.
The only kind of museum I enjoy.
That's the most problematic museum you could have chosen.
We're going to go into a room full of xylophones. Something I've experienced at a children's museum.
I will say it is the museum they end up going to is like more of a, yes, it's an art museum, but it also has like historical elements to it too.
Like a night at the museum.
Yes.
Great.
So I want to insert my observation about the writing here in a second, because the next day is a rough one. Emery's responsibilities is to like for her job is to testify in court cases sometimes, right? So there is one the following day that's like a huge deal, and her boss is like on her case about getting it right. And so like we switch to the next day. She's kind of going through her day at work, getting ragged on by her boss. And she's like weirdly explaining to the audience what her job is like and how she's always worried that there's more than one perpetrator, and what if they have a partner and the partner will come after her for testifying. I don't know. It was like not important. What's important though is the writing in this book is very choppy and has a lot of unnecessary details. So in the next couple of paragraphs, I'm going to explain to you some of the writing so you can get a perspective of what I read for 60 pages.
Yeah.
Okay. So her and her boss go out to lunch, and this is the section that I find intriguing. Quote, the zipper. The waitress zips over to us with glasses of water, asking if we know what we want. We don't even bother with a menu and tell her cheeseburgers with fries. She's the kind who doesn't write down our order, but recites it perfectly back to us, all while pouring coffee for the guy sitting next to me. I nod at her pouring the cup of coffee, signaling I want a cup too. I don't know. I think I wrote this wrong. She races back for an empty cup and pours it once his cup is full. That's
her arms are stretchy and long while she did that. She continued to pour the coffee while she got.
Okay.
No, there's a lot.
Yes. There. The paragraph goes on to say, for Emery to say, quote, then she is off to yell our order to the fry cook, standing on her tiptoes, stretching to make sure the cook hears her. I admire the flexed muscles of her calves and the small waist.
Okay.
Why are you telling us this?
Extraneous details.
I don't understand.
I also like being impressed at remembering the very complicated order of 2 cheeseburgers with fries.
Yes, exactly. And then like she's like pouring one person's cup of coffee, and just by nodding at her, she knows to get her another cup of coffee. Like
telepathy.
And also, why are we so focused on the waitress when she doesn't ever come back into play?
So much detail.
It's so unnecessary.
I love it.
So her and
setting
her boss,
the scene.
Yes. Her and her boss have this really odd interaction where she confesses that she's leaving work early today for a date, and he starts asking her about her dating life, and it is one of the worst, terrible, like heinous HR violations I've ever heard in my life.
Cool.
He brings up her age and like asks her like, don't you want to settle down with like kids and a wife? Like
what?
Yeah, it's kind of insane. So I don't know why we needed that whole interaction, but she ends her workday early, goes home to change into an outfit that won't look like she has a silicone dick on. Like, it's
really big pants.
Yes.
Maybe a skirt.
Emery provides some details on her toned swimmer's-like body. And I'm a little like, are we just really emphasizing the point that you want everyone to be skinny and fit? Like, I don't understand why there's so much, and this will not end. Okay. This is my complaint with the book is that like, we do not stop talking about everyone's bodies, and it's not just the love interest, you know? Okay. I'll get off my soapbox. Back to the point. All right. Emery decides to go early to the museum to scope it out because as much as like Lily wants to have public sex, Emery is like, I don't want to get caught.
Right. That would be a problem.
Yes. When she gets there, it's practically a ghost town. Parking garage is fairly vacant. The lobby is empty. She's like alone in each of the rooms except for one other person. The security guard who follows her based on which room she goes to.
Because you're the only person there and there's nothing else to guard.
Precisely. Emery is wandering around until she comes across a beautiful, stunning woman that she rightfully assumes is Lily. Lily looks nothing like what Emery expected, okay? She could be a 1940s pinup girl for all she knows, you know? And she's got these boobs that are way bigger than what she saw in those bikini photos. And she is like pleasantly surprised. So again, boobies.
Great.
Bodies.
She's got them.
Got him.
Got him.
Okay. So Lily is sitting in front of, and I hope I'm saying this right, Caravaggio.
Sure.
A Caravaggio painting.
Yeah, I believe it.
And Emery decides to be really smooth by like saddling up next to her and saying, quote, "They say he killed a man. It was a cop. So even hundreds of years ago, when cops were probably more corrupt than they are now, it was still a really bad idea to kill one." That's your pickup line?
It works for somebody.
Well, it worked for Lily because she responds by saying, "I have a lot of cop friends." And Emery says, "So do I."
That makes sense because you do fire stuff and court stuff. Yeah.
And they're like checking each other out during this exchange. So it's like some sort of like game.
So hot that we both have cop friends.
Yeah. Okay. So they switch topics, but everything becomes kind of a suggestive innuendo. You know what I mean? Okay.
You know.
And she mentions that I should emphasize who she is. Lily mentions that one of the paintings looks so good, she wants to touch it. But of course, Emery thinks she means like the strap on she has on in her pants, right? So she's like, you know, oh yeah, you should touch the painting.
This painting makes me want to touch your strap on.
No, I think she's trying to be like, I want to touch it so bad in like while they're verbally talking about the painting, but like the underlying comment is I want to touch your dildo so bad.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, Emery decides to distract the guard so that Lily can touch this hundreds years old painting.
No.
Disrespectful.
Don't do that. And you probably can't do that. No.
This is not a children's museum, ma'am. You can't just touch what you want to. Okay. So Emery suggests that they go to another room because, quote, they can't all have guards, which doesn't make sense because the security guard has been low key following them through the entire museum. So I don't know why they would stop now.
They don't all need to. It's just you guys and this one security guard who can follow you around.
But I guess,
sure,
it does work because there's no security guard in the next room.
If you run very quickly to the next room, maybe the security guard won't catch up.
Yes. So at this point, I want to take a deviation and have you do your research, if you may, because we're going to just get really into the weeds about where they go and what they're doing in different parts. And we can analyze then, you know, how realistic is this?
Well, welcome to my research titled Night at the Museum, spelled Knight, notes on how to keep museum artifacts safe. Get it? Because like a knight would protect security.
Yes.
Museums, nice, Sarah, they're full of treasures.
They are.
I don't know if you knew that. Art treasures, bone treasures, artifact treasures, etc. And if Ben Stiller's 2006 classic Night at the Museum taught us anything, it's that you got to keep those museum treasures safe.
Mm-hmm.
Before I even start, did you know that the National Park Service knows all about museum security?
That is not who I'd peg, but it does kind of make sense.
No, they do. In the same way that national parks need to be preserved, so do things that are owned by the government in museums. So thank you so much to the National Park Service Museum Handbook for all of my information. This is so detailed.
Yes, I love that.
Okay, so threats we need to consider in a museum: theft and vandalism, the crime kind.
Yes.
Natural disasters impacting the building and the stuff inside. All of the museum items coming to life and making a big mess of the place, like in Night at the Museum.
Absolutely.
You have to be careful about that. And then other catastrophic failures like explosions or power outages, or this was in the handbook, nuclear events.
Ooh,
you gotta consider these threats when you're setting up the safety. So
timely.
Timely. It's not even a new handbook. It's a pretty old handbook.
Amazing.
So like a successful security plan for a museum is going to have a bunch of different components to do all of this stuff, like physical security, like security for the building, security systems. You have to have like stuff that'll mitigate fires. So there's a lot to keep in mind. Firstly, there are like various legal policy requirements that museums have to follow.
I have to imagine.
Yeah. To keep, like, obviously museums have all kinds of property on display, but some of that stuff is owned by the government. And so there's a whole lot of like regulations and rules you have to follow. I'm not going to get into Title 40 United States Code Public Buildings, Property and Works, paragraph 486C, nor am I going to get into Code of Federal Regulations 41 Federal Property Management Regulations Part 101 Subpart 20.5 Physical Protection or others. But
my memory of those they're kind of obsolete.
We all know about that.
Yeah.
So, but know that there's a bunch of them listed in this handbook, and it's like different codes you have to follow or things you have to protect.
Yeah.
You have to account for all of that. You're going to want to secure the building itself. You're going to want to secure individual items. You're going to want to have plans and people to set into action in the event of all these horrifying threats. So what kind of stuff do you use to protect from all this stuff? Let me tell you the measures. I'm just going to start listing stuff out, and there's so many. Security systems. Museums are going to have cameras. They're going to have doors that like have limited access or like key fob, lock and unlock stuff. Every exhibit should have really good lighting, because really good lighting makes criminals afraid to do crime in your museum, I learned. Like if the lighting is good, they're like, everyone will really see me do this crime.
Probably.
So I'm not going to do this crime in here. Or this vandalism or what have you. That's one layer. There are a bunch of intrusion detection devices that I learned about. There's like a huge table with a bunch of them, what kind they are, what they detect, and where you would put them. I'm just going to do like a quick handful of 4 just to get a flavor of the types of things that can be put in a museum for security. So passive infrared, which detects movement via body heat.
Okay.
You can use that in a museum. Photoelectric beams, which detect movement of a solid object crossing through a beam. So like when you see someone breaking into a safe and they got to go around all the red, like that would
very
be
Mission Impossible.
That kind of security, although you probably won't necessarily see the beams. Special glass breaking protection. Or detection, excuse me. So anytime someone tries to break a display or like, damage something, there are systems that will detect that. Museums can use pressure mats so that they know if someone is stepping on a certain area where a special thing is being kept. So like if there's, I don't know, a very, very fancy illuminated book and it's on a pedestal, that pedestal might be on a huge pressure mat. And maybe you're not supposed to go up behind the pedestal. And if you did, you would activate the pressure mat, and then an alarm would sound and they'd be like, don't be there.
Yes. Okay.
That's just like some stuff. There are all kinds of different beams, detectors of all motion detectors, heat detectors, moisture detectors, a lot of different stuff, all for intrusion detection. It's crazy. The list goes on and on. Beyond that, practical stuff like ropes and fences and enclosed exhibits and like stuff that is just kind of physical barriers in place between people who come to the museum and the exhibits. And then like lastly, to round it all out, security people and museum employees and people in general who can help deter you from, I don't know, trying to hook up at a museum at your 4:30 p.m. sharp date.
Yeah, AI can't take that job. We need them.
You need at least one guy to follow you around.
Mhm.
And I say that's it, like that's not a lot of stuff, but it's sort of like an unlimited list of spy gear. It felt like reading that museums can use, especially pressure mats. That's crazy and cool. I like it.
I think the pressure mats is interesting, especially when you have like a physical display, like I mean like a big product display, like let's say they had a giant sled, like a really old ancient sled, and they were showing it in a case that had like that was open air, didn't have glass or something,
right?
And like had like little kids could step up into that encasement and they're like, well, we're going to put a pressure mat around it so we will know if somebody tries to step up there.
It's bad if you do that. I recommend personally hiring a Ben Stiller to watch your museum at night.
100%.
And that concludes my research.
Thank you so much. I have to imagine because like, okay, museums are like up there with like, I would say like jewelry stores with the amount of stuff you have in there that's so valuable.
Probably
so, like,
very similar methodologies between protecting the cure, like probably like shatter detection and like
other
such things.
Those types of places are going to have cameras literally everywhere to see every angle.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Just keep this in mind while we're going forward.
I'm gonna keep it in mind. I'm gonna keep in mind cameras, heat detection. Motion detection, pressure mats, a guy following you around. Very, very good lighting.
Yes. And so to jump back into our scene, they've now started the foreplay in one room and they're going into another room where, again, they think that they don't have guards in every room, but I guess they get away from the guard for a little bit. And they go into a room that has more like historical factoids or like
a mummy.
Artifacts is what I was trying to go for, and I said
a jar
factoid.
That's particularly old.
Yes, but in this case, they go and observe a recreation of a log cabin. And Lily bends over to read the plaque, and she's like pushing her ass against Emery's front, which obviously has that dildo in it.
Obviously.
And it's just getting like closer and closer to dry humping because she keeps bending over and reading things and like then sitting up and then going over and reading something else. Like, which is like, okay, I don't know why you guys think there's not a camera in this room, but all right. But they decide to find a place more private, which is perfect because the security guard just strolled in.
Yeah, makes sense.
So they go to another room with a Monet painting that they can sit in front of on a bench and admire. And the room has other people in it. And mentally, our girl Emery's thinking, why did you go to a room with other people? But I think the thought process is like, there's other people. So maybe the security guard isn't going to come as quickly to follow us because there's more people around. Whatever. So they sit in front of this painting, and after some of the other people leave, Lily like provocatively sucks Emery's finger, and then starts jerking off the dildo in her pants.
Sure.
And I don't know. That was just like a one-off scene. That's like another like each room they're getting like closer and closer to the real event, right? So they're going to go to another exhibit that Lily hears is under construction, but wants to double check. So,
okay, I'm ready.
She's like, I would just, she does that thing where she's like, I hear it's under construction, but I don't know for sure. So we should go check.
Look and see.
So they are like prancing down the stairs together, and Emery just becomes so overwhelmed that she pulls her into kind of a dark alcove and kisses her. Very romantic, very sweet. Yeah. But then they hear footsteps coming, and Emery...
It's that one security guard.
Yeah, that one guy that's like, these girls, oh my God.
They're trying to hook up in the museum. This happens all the time.
Yeah, this is not my first rodeo. We're so good at this.
Those kids again trying to hook up in my museum.
Oh my God. He's like, I've seen the Ben Stiller movie. I've seen the porno version of the Ben Stiller.
You watch Night at the Museum one time and then everybody starts fucking in a museum.
So they're over where that constructed area is, and when they hear the footsteps coming, Emery unhooks the do not enter sign and lets them into the area that they are, I don't know, not supposed to enter.
Sure. Well,
yeah. Anyway, they find a bathroom nearby, I guess, and Lily pulls Emery into the bathroom and very obviously says, there are cameras down here, but not in this room.
Yeah, the bathroom, I hope not that. I think it's a crime.
That's wild. Okay.
But yeah, it's not wrong.
I will disclose that this is like one of those old school bathrooms that has like a powder room in the front.
Sure.
And so it's got like a chase lounge and
like a Von Mar. For people who know what Von Mar is,
what a great reference.
Yep, I know exactly the fanciest bathrooms I've probably ever been in. A Von Mar
bathroom.
Dang.
So while they're in there, Lily turns around and places her hands on the door, and Emery like pulls down her panties and she pockets them. She's a panty thief.
I'll keep these. Well, hey. Is it a step up from all of the men in previous books who just rip them off, just ripping off all our lingerie? Maybe.
I was just about to ask. I mean, like, where does this put her on the list of panty thieves that we have witnessed?
It's there's an opportunity to get them back that you don't have when they are physically ripped off of your body.
I'll say correct. I'll say that. And so Emery's like also mentally being like, yes, she's being submissive, just like I knew she would be, like, just like we talked about. And she's actually doing it the way that I would like it to be done. You know what I mean? Like, she's not trying to like overpower me and like do this whole like power dom switch situation. So while Emery is down there, she might as well give Lily some oral from behind, you know, to prepare her for the dildo.
Yeah.
Anyway, like I said, there's a chase lounge nearby, and which is so convenient for them to use.
Yeah, for the oral, moment. I would say, for sure.
Yeah. So when Lily starts kind of semi undressing, like she like starts working off like the top just bodice part of her dress, like it doesn't come completely off, right? But Emery gets really aggressive with her mouth work because she starts leaving marks, and Emery has been really into this idea of like marking Lily throughout the book as well. Sure. So that isn't a surprise, but like she does check in with Lily that she isn't like hurting her too much. So like consent still happening. We love that.
We love it.
Okay. I'm just going to say it. Okay. When Lily unzips Emery's pants and goes to work on unleashing the silicone dildo.
Yeah.
She removes the condom on it.
Okay. I think that's fine, but I guess I don't know the specific features of this dildo.
It raises the question to me,
why do we
have a condom on a dildo while you were just walking around, though?
That is really funny.
And by the way, she does know on her way out the door, when she was on her way to the museum, she grabbed some extra condoms. And I was like, for what? What are we worried about getting somebody pregnant? I mean, like, I'm really not saying that, like, again, we want to keep people safe and
everybody be safe.
But I'm very confused under these specific circumstances.
It is I think a brand new strap-on. So
I hope you washed it.
Well, yeah, I would hope you washed it too. But like, even from that perspective, did she not also just buy it? Like, I can't even use this as a.
Maybe it has old germs.
Right. Like that's not the best excuse, because please wash it. But like, even that excuse doesn't really work.
Yeah.
Brand new in this book.
There is a moment where Lily gives the dildo head, and it's clear between the two of them that she's like kind of uncertain if she should even do it, because she's like, I know it's not going to give Emery any pleasure, but like it's a vibes thing. Yes. So that's Emery's like, it's still turning me on, right?
Plus, because you did give her a handy earlier, and we weren't concerned about how weird or not weird that would be. So I don't know why we'd stop now.
Yeah, I don't know why we're starting now at this point. When Emery finally penetrates Lily, she says, quote, her acceptance of me stirs a protectiveness that I was not expecting. She proceeds to explain how her need to please Lily over and over is something she's never felt before. Is she
Sure.
getting over her commitment issues?
Feelings?
I'll also say there's a moment, because if you remember, she checked with Lily about the size of the dildo she should use.
Because she got the specifications.
Yeah, she was like, I was worried to get one too big, but also she works with a lot of big ones, so I didn't want to get one too small.
Right.
But she was like, there was a lot of resistance. Like, I could tell that it was a lot for her to take.
Sure. I've never used a strap-on to know.
Keep that in mind.
That's how that is.
Just keep it in mind.
I will
keep
it in mind.
Okay. So the most relatable thing Emery says during this entire book is, quote, being almost 6 feet tall can be a curse, especially when dealing with a 5 foot long couch. From personal experience, I can say preach.
Yeah.
Okay. When Emery goes to Pound Town, Lily starts being really loud, and Emery reminds her to be quiet, which Lily promises to do. But then when Emery flips her over for doggy style, Lily is even louder. And I'm a little like,
you're in a museum,
and there's no way people don't know that you guys are down in that section somewhere.
There are very few people in the museum, and than you.
I don't know. It's kind of like that thing where
sometimes you can't help it, Sarah.
But when you lock up somewhere, you're gonna check the bathrooms too, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They probably know that you're in the anyway. I'm getting too into the logistics.
Now you need to suspend your disbelief.
Yeah, I know. After Lily hits the big O, Emery gives her a dessert course by providing another big O and going down on her. And after that big O, Lily says she can't do any more because it's just too much. And then literally the paragraph after that says she wants to go again.
Oh, well, she got over it really fast.
Seems like conflicting messaging. But
women have a brief refractory period.
Fair. Touche. And Emery decides to whip out that dildo once again. This time they both get their release from it. So if we're doing an O count, Lily has 3 O's and Emery has 1. So,
Which is a lot of O's.
Yeah. And it's clear that like Emery is definitely taking a more masculine, and she is a more masculine character too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just if we're taking tallies.
Just if anybody was curious.
Yeah. When they compose themselves, Lily takes out a cigarette and lights it, which is ironic because
in the museum?
In the bathroom of the museum?
A fire investigator?
No, Lily.
Oh, Lily. Sorry.
Lily, which is ironic because she said that she wasn't a smoker.
Right.
No, both of them said they weren't smoking.
Yeah, they Lily both said, be like, I don't smoke.
So great. Emery said, it's funny because like now I catch her in a little lie, right? She said she wasn't a smoker and now she's smoking, whatever. And she kind of takes a drag of her cigarette to also show I'm a smoker. I've smoked every once in a while too. Anyway, she finds it a little endearing. They're careful not to get caught when they return up to the lobby. And there's a big old clock, and Emery realizes that from the moment she saw Lily to the moment she walked away, it was only 68 minutes. And her world has been absolutely turned upside down by this woman.
Wow.
We're not done.
Good.
Lily has now walked away, and Emery opens her phone to see all of these texts from Lily.
Oh.
And before she can read them, she hears heels clicking towards her. Emery looks up to see a woman in a pantsuit. It's the real Lily she was supposed to meet.
Oh!
Not the woman she just fucked. That was a really good plot twist. I did not see coming.
What a twist! That's very funny.
Isn't that wild? Okay, so this Lily sits down next to her and starts apologizing profusely for being late and introduces herself and everything. Emery gives herself about 60 seconds to process the information before she's like, fuck it. I'll give this girl a chance because I fell in love in lust with her for the last few weeks. Might as well give it a go. Emery thinks, quote, less than a minute ago, I wanted to walk away and spend the evening thinking about what just happened 20 minutes ago. Now I want to spend time with the real Lily.
Okay.
Okay. all right, sure, whatever.
Do you plan on not using that dildo, or do you plan on using that dildo?
She thinks it's too inappropriate to lead her downstairs to where she just had sex with Lily 1, which, by the way, I'm going to refer to them as Lily 1 and Lily 2.
That helps me understand, so I appreciate it.
So, Luca's now in on the party. He just jumped on my lap.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Tell me all about it, Luca.
He wrapped up my headphone cord. So I was
I'm Lily too.
Lily too. Okay. So yeah. So she's like, I'm not going to bring her back down to that bathroom. I'm going to take her to like this hallway and try and find a better place. Emery, again, had a drag of Lily's 1's cigarette. Yes. And now she's going to kiss Lily 2, who doesn't smoke and doesn't think she smokes.
Correct.
So she like has to cover it up quick with a mint. Like,
sure. I bet that works.
They go to like this closet, like a... what am I thinking? Like a coat closet type of deal.
Sure,
that's not being used because it's the middle of summer.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they start kissing and they start getting handsy, and all Emery can think about is how Lily 2 doesn't have the curves that Lily 1 had, you know?
That's lame, but okay.
She has fewer curves and not in the right places that she wants, you know? Like it just doesn't feel right. But she's going to keep doing it. So they go, like I said, they're in that coat closet. And Emery does put a condom on the dildo this time. So,
I mean, now you kind of have to.
Which,
now you definitely should, but also you should clean it. But also, I don't know that you should
but
really
then why did you did not expect this to happen? This was what am I thinking? When somebody plans something out ahead, premeditated.
Yeah, this is not premeditated.
This was premeditated. Anyway, so she's at least protecting her from the germs of Lily 1. So this sexual encounter is a lot less playful, fun, and less emotional. It's very much more power dynamics. Like Lily 2 wants to be a bottom, but she keeps kind of ordering Emery around, and Emery was like, I'm trying to take the reins.
I don't like.
This is exactly what I was talking about.
The one thing I told you I don't enjoy.
And as Emery is pounding it from behind, Lily 2 goes really quiet before she lets out a primal cry and a wail.
Good.
Which Emery finds very sexy.
In the museum. Good.
In the museum. After finishing, Lily 2 wants to go down on Emery, which Emery thinks about for a moment because it hasn't happened in a while for her. And she's like, yeah, fuck it. So she removes her harness, and Lily 2 does an excellent job getting Emery off.
She's like, you're already incredibly wet. Almost like you've been hooking up with someone before right now.
Like you've orgasmed before.
That's so interesting.
Before this. They get themselves together, and Emery is definitely comparing the two women against each other and explaining why she finds both of them attractive. Lily 2 was a one-time intentional hookup, but a release of like a good buildup she's had for a while. Mm-hmm. But Lily 1, the mystery woman, is someone Emery really wants to see again. We're wrapping up the book. Would you like to guess what is going to happen to finish out our book?
Well, Lily 2's date is going to be over, and I can only assume the only way to find Mystery Lily 1 is to show up at the museum with a strap-on every day until you accidentally run into Lily 1 again.
Interesting.
I don't actually know how this could possibly end, but I can't wait.
Interesting. Yeah, no.
You like that?
It's definitely an option. Yeah, you're just praying for somebody to rub up on your silicone dick. Yeah. Strap on at the museum.
My favorite movie. Ben Stiller's Strap On at the Museum.
Okay. The next day is Emery's big court hearing that she has to testify at, if you recall. Okay. Uh-huh. She's decked out in her investigator uniform. Didn't know they had one of those, but she's like slightly uncomfortable because it's tight in all the wrong places. And she's like, she's more of a loose fitting masculine figure. So she's like, this is not what I really want to wear, but it looks good on her. And she, they like her wearing it during while testifying because it makes her look more trustworthy and reliable, whatever. Her boss is like really nervous. And Emery is like, we do this all the time. Why are you so nervous? Like, we're not here to convict. And like, we're just here to testify, right?
Right.
So they go into the courtroom and they wait for the proceedings to start. And that's when the bailiff yells out for all to stand for the Honorable Judge Claire Wheeler. Emery looks over and her jaw drops. The judge is her mystery woman.
Seems like a conflict of interest.
Quote, the fact that my beautiful, mysterious woman happens to be a judge only makes me want her more. Everything is clear to me. She needs me to take control.
That is an interesting conclusion to come to.
Which, to be fair, there are a lot of people who are in, positions of power that they like in their personal lives to not be.
Yeah. I'm not debating that.
So Emery is like really now strung tight. And it's not until Judge Claire reads out Emery's name and she comes up to the stand that Claire really notices who she is.
Hard to recognize without the strap on in the museum.
Yeah, for sure. And when it's like a little role reversal where the judge is like the dominant, Claire's the dominant one. And now Emery has to answer to her stuff. Yeah. So not only does Emery stay for the entire day of court, which she did not have to do, she could have literally left after testifying.
I don't know how else they would have gotten to talk to each other.
Yes. And her boss even was like, why are you staying? Like, we can go.
Very important.
Yeah. After the day is done, she waits outside of the exit of the courtroom that's next to the judge's chamber to try and catch her on her way out to her car.
Super normal behavior.
Yes. And she sees Claire in her office window for a moment and they make eye contact, but Claire walks away.
Good.
So
deal.
Emery's like, gives it a little more time and then decides that if she stays any longer, she'll seem a little too desperate, which I'm like, I would argue you already do seem it. So she goes to throw away the plastic bottle because she had gotten a drink to enjoy while she was waiting. And she goes to throw it away. And you know how there's like those containers that are like multiple places for you to throw something in.
Yeah.
She kind of gets confused for a moment by all the bins and their little drawings on there, the little pictures of her. And she hears a voice from behind say, try the middle one. Surprise! It's Claire.
Oh my gosh.
And by the way, Emery is smoking at this point.
Inside?
No, it's outside. Okay. She's outside.
Just checking. It just feels like a lot of inside smoking is happening, and I don't condone that.
Only 50% of the time. Actually, if we count the beginning, a third of the time.
A third of the time. Okay.
Noted. So not only does Claire just silently steal Emery's cigarette, but she puts a business card in Emery's breast pocket and walks away.
Wow.
And she looks at that business card, and on the back it says, dinner at 7 p.m. Keep your uniform on.
Ooh.
The end.
The end.
How do you feel?
I feel great. I simply couldn't have predicted that we would end in court.
We would end in the legal system.
Like, I know that she does that, but it didn't occur to me that we would have to be in court at any point in time during this book.
I thought, what I was putting together was that Lily is a lawyer and she has to go to this big court case the next day. So I kept on being like, oh my gosh, Lily is going to be the lawyer cross-examining her or something, and it's going to be that. Or when I found out there was a second Lily, I was like, oh no, what if they go to court and the real Lily is the attorney and the not real Lily is the perpetrator? Well, I was going to say, yeah. What if she's the perpetrator?
The arson, I assume.
The arsonist. Anyway, I thought it was other than the weird need to make everybody skinny in this book and fit.
Body comments I didn't necessarily need. Otherwise, delightful.
And again, the writing was really clunky. But look, it's her first book. It was her first book.
I can't write a book.
And I'll give it, the plot twist was great.
I loved it.
But, I did not address this at the time because we were just so bamboozled with so many other things. But when she fucked the real Lily, the penis was like, didn't feel any pressure going. Like she was stretched out apparently.
Awful.
I know.
Not necessary to include in the book at all.
I know. But it was like she gives all these little signs that it's not the real Lily. Like the smoking. There's like, gosh, what am I thinking? There's another comment that she makes that she's like, that doesn't align with the other Lily. But whatever. It doesn't matter. Oh, the boobs being bigger than she expected.
Oh, right.
And stuff.
The looking completely different.
Yeah, than her photos. Yeah. Okay. So let's go through our score. First of all, diversity. We got queer couples.
Yay.
We've got different types of gender roles we're going to play here.
We've got judges and fire investigators.
And we never got to know how old Claire is. I have to imagine Claire's a little older because obviously she's
a judge. I choose to believe she's in her hot 40s.
Yeah. But Emery is 35. So I like that we don't have these like 20-year-olds.
It's nice to read a book where the characters are older than I am.
Yes, precisely. So plot. I'm going to give the plot a 5. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Yeah.
She's going in.
What are you doing?
5 too. Yeah, I loved it. It's
awesome.
Crazy. Twists and turns.
Smut, I'm going to give it a 4.
I was going to give it a 4.5.
I'll go in with you on that 4.5 because we had 2 sexual partners, even if it was really fucking weird.
And there was like pre-date stuff. There was all kinds of stuff.
There was masturbation. There was penetration. There was
jerking off and oraling a completely fake penis.
Yes.
With a condom on and with a condom off.
Yes. Will you take a look at our cover and let our audience know what it looks like?
All right. Well, Shameless has the background of a museum exhibit. White walls, really good lighting hanging from the ceiling. For security, I assume. A painting. If this is a real painting, I do not know what it is.
No, I don't think it's a real one. But if it was, it kind of looks like a Monet.
I think it's supposed to give a Monet vibe because it got mentioned in the book. I couldn't tell you if this was a Monet if it punched me in the face. And you can kind of see on the ground like red, uncomfortable, like bench seating to sit on in front of the painting, and in front of all that is just the body, and you don't see the face of a woman who's got her arm or her hand on her hip, and she's wearing like tightly fitted red dress that looks like it has a sweetheart neckline. If you're curious, maybe a little rouging, maybe it's just the way that she's standing. And it says Shameless in cursive, and for some reason the L in Shameless is photoshopped underneath the strap of the dress. That's just a fun fact that I'm noticing.
Yeah.
Anyway, and it's by Chris Bryant, writing as Brit Ryder.
Yeah, I think this embodies I'm going back and forth about my vote here. My
because
score.
Like, what else would we have it be?
I know. You know what? I'll go to a 4.
Yeah.
Where are you gonna stand?
Yeah, I'll give it a 4.
Okay.
Like, it's good.
Yeah, I think, like, what else would you do? But it's also very, like, this is definitely indie author who is photoshopping their work. You know what I mean?
At least this has, like, the components of what happens in the story, which is
yes,
good.
Precisely.
Yes.
Okay, that leaves us both at a 90. That's actually extremely high, given my complaints about it. I didn't even factor that into my scoring. What is your say smut moment from the book?
Plot twist. I mean, the obvious thing to say is every insane sexual thing that occurred inside this museum that you absolutely would not get away with. Obviously, those are say smut moments. But I was just so gooped by the learning that we weren't dating the real Lily the whole time that made me say smut so much.
Also, imagine the level of confidence you'd have after pulling game like that without discussing it and being like
completely random, the craziest game you've ever pulled,
and stating that he killed a man to get your.
Also weird.
I'm going to get my in with this girl by saying that the artist killed a man who was a police officer, and
we're both going to decide. It does make sense that they both have police friends.
Yes. And so I would also say my say smut moment, in addition to what you have said, is definitely the condom being already on the dildo.
Coming pre-sheathed is very funny.
Yes. It made sense for the condoms to be there later, but I am a little like, why did you bring them in the first place? It doesn't make sense. And I will say the commentary around the dildo filling Lily 1 more than Lily 2, it was a little odd to me too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll throw those 2 in there. And also the fucking conversation with her fucking boss. That man should be fired.
Also crazy. Yeah, don't. That's
Absolutely
weird.
not. All right. Well, that was our book. You can find us if you so choose on TikTok and Instagram at saysmutpodcast. And additionally, we'd love to hear your book recommendations. Send those our way via email at saysmutpodcast@gmail.com. Also, pop us a rating or review on the podcast platform of your choosing. We'd love to hear from you. And like in the meantime, you know, be careful about the public sex you're having.
Always come with your strap-on pre-sheathed. I think we've learned that it's necessary.
Protection's important at the end of the day. Also, maybe introduce yourself. Introduce yourself to the people around you before you fuck them.
I mean, or don't, because apparently it'll be a big, fun, sexy time.
Yeah, but consent all the way through.
Always consent.
All right. Stay smutty.
Bye-bye.